Hello boys and girls, you might have noticed that we've started to think about time in P2. So over the next couple of weeks we're going to be looking at a clock, and reading the clock and reading the time is a really important skill that we start to learn when we go to school. This week we're going to be focusing on o'clock times only. But before we do that, I want you to have a little look at my clock, and I want you to have a look and see if you notice anything about a clock. Maybe you notice something about all of the numbers. Maybe you notice that the clock is what shape it is. It's usually a circle, isn't it? Just like the one we would have in our classroom. You may also notice that there's these things here. Anybody know what they're called? Yeah, they're the hands on the clock. And you'll notice that the hands on the clock, they're not the same size, sure they're not. On this one, the blue one is a really long hand and the red one is the short hand. So yeah, the numbers that we were thinking about, it goes the whole way from 1 to 12, and they start at the smallest number and go the whole way round to the biggest number, which is 12. So maybe you would count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, today, because we're looking at o'clock times, we're going to be paying special attention to this big number. We're going to be thinking about the number 12. So maybe you've heard us mention in school that maybe it's 9 o'clock, maybe it's 2 o'clock, and 2 o'clock means what? Yeah, usually it means it's home time, or maybe you've heard me mention that it's 12 o'clock and we're getting ready for lunch. We hear the o'clock time quite a lot, don't we? So when it's o'clock, something will always stay the same, regardless of whether it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, any time o'clock. The big long hand of the clock will always go from the middle the whole way up to the number 12. So at the moment, it's sitting on what time? It's sitting on 6 o'clock, because the little hand is pointing down to the 6 and the longer hand is pointing up to the 12. I'm going to do a few more with you just before we try something else. So for it to be an o'clock time, it's always going to be facing up to the 12. I'm going to move the little hand, and this little hand is the hour hand, and it's going to tell us what hour of the day it is. So I'm going to move it up to the number 10. I wonder, can you tell me what time I'm showing on my clock? So we know because it's up at the 12, it's always going to be something o'clock. And the little hand is facing the number 10, so it's going to be 10 o'clock. Can we say that together? 10 o'clock. Well done. Okay, what about this one? So I'm going to keep the big long hand up at the 12. It's going to be something o'clock. And then I'm going to move this little hand over to this number. What number is this? It is the number 4. So that means it is 4 o'clock. Fabulous. Well done. Now, we've got a couple of things to do for today's activity. But what we're going to do first is we're going to get the page that looks a little bit like this. That's in our work pack. And we are going to write the time for each. And I'll let you into a little clue. They're all o'clock times. And you know that because it says the word o'clock. And also, how else would I know that it's an o'clock time? Where's the big long hand pointing to in every single question? That's right, it's always pointing up to the 12, you're right. So what you need to do is you need to finish off this page and make sure that you write in the time. Pause the video and come back and we're going to do something else. Okay, welcome back. I hope you got on okay with writing the time. Now this time we are going to start drawing o'clock times on our pages, and I'm going to help you. Now I want you to have a little look at this, what I've got on my card. It says 10 o'clock. Now as soon as you see that word or hear that word o'clock, first thing that you're always going to do, no matter what time it is, if it says it's o'clock, you're going to start at the middle and you're going to draw the long hand the whole way up to the 12. So that's the easy bit. That's it already done. But what time did it say? What o'clock? It's 10 o'clock, that's right. So the little hand, the one that's a little bit shorter, is going to be pointing to what number? It is, and again we're going to start at the middle. And nice and slowly, don't be doing it too quick or else you might make a little mistake. We're going to point to the 10. And you'll notice, boys and girls, that the little hand is a good bit shorter compared to the longer hand. And that's how we know that it's 10 o'clock. So I'm going to turn my card over and I'm going to check that we've got it right. What do you think, boys and girls? Yeah. Well done, thank you for helping me. Okay, we've got another clock to look at, and it's asking us to draw the time what o'clock? 7 o'clock. Now remember, as soon as we hear or see that word o'clock, what's the first thing that we're going to do? What number do we have to draw a big long line up to? It's always going to be 12, isn't it? So starting in the middle, do you think that would be long enough? No, I don't think so. I'm gonna do that again, boys and girls. So let's try that again. Starting from the middle, we're gonna go the whole way up to the 12, making it as long as we can. Great, that looks better, doesn't it? And what time is it? What number? What o'clock? It is 7 o'clock. So the little hand is going to be pointing down towards the 7. Okay, now I'm going to make a little mistake and I want you to see what the mistake is. Okay? Does that look like 7 o'clock? Well, it kind of does, doesn't it? But what do I need to change? Yeah, we need a shorter hand. We can't have two long hands. The shorter hand has to be pointing to the 7. That's it. Well done. And let's check to see if we're right. What do you think? Yeah, that looks a lot better now, doesn't it, boys and girls? Okay, so now it's over to you. It's your turn to turn to this page in your booklet and you're going to draw all of the o'clock times on each of the clocks. So what you might want to do is, you might want to go ahead and draw the big long hand first because we can see the word o'clock. Can we say that word together? O'clock. So make sure all of those longer hands are touching the 12 and that you start from the middle. And make sure you take your time and double check that you've got it right. Boys and girls, really well done for listening to this. And if you have any questions or need any help, please drop me a message on Seesaw. Thank you and see you soon.